Perfect. Okay, perfect. Thank you everyone for bearing with me with the technical Zoom information. So thank you again for joining us for Network at the Beach Marketing. My name is Michelle Levy, and I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Business Career Services. And I also have my colleague, Andre, who will introduce himself as well.
Yeah, my name is Andre Rishi. I'm the Graduate Business Career Coordinator. I'm working with all you wonderful students and just here, to enjoy the networking event with all of you as well.
So thank you in advance to our panelists for being here to showcase their experience and skills and insights into the marketing world. And just to let you know how this is going to work tonight. So first, the alumni are going to give their introductions, and then we're going to have a panel for about the first 30 minutes. So you can hear more about their general experience and just general information about the marketing field. And then I'm going to put the alumni into different breakout rooms where they will be in their own individual room. And then you can go in and ask any individual questions or get to know them a little bit better in a more one-on-one space. And then we will wrap that up around 6:50 or so, and then conclude with an evaluation. So if you have any questions, chat them into the chat box. Andre is going to be monitoring that for us. But let's go into introductions first. And I have on the screen who's going to be talking, so you all know first, and then we'll go into questions. So Ben, if you could maybe tell us your name, your title, as well as your company name, and just a little fun fact, if you could travel anywhere, where would you go? Just because we haven't been able to travel so much these past couple of years. So Ben, if you want to introduce yourself first.
Cool. Thank you, Michelle. So thank you for having me. My name is Ben Arnold. I'm a graduate of the Saturday MBA program. A few years back, it's cohort number 2. So it's been a few years, but very happy to be part of this panel tonight. I'm the VP of Paid Media at a company called Little Dot Studios. Little Dot Studios is a digital marketing, digital content company. We do a lot of production, marketing services, media services for brands, for social media, YouTube, etc. And if I could travel anywhere in the world, you made a good point that we haven't done much traveling, so I'd probably go as far as I could. I'd love to visit New Zealand. I think that would be like my #1 travel destination, and maybe stay for a long time. So.
Yes, because that flight is very long. So
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Brenda, if you could introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brenda Arrow. I was part of the AMBA program, so the Accelerated MBA program, I graduated back in 2020. So it's been about 2 years now, which is crazy. I currently work as an associate manager of online marketing at Match, which is one of like the bigger dating apps companies or dating sites company. And if I were to travel anywhere, I would probably choose Japan, just because I've loved Japan for, since I was young, because of like anime, manga, all that good stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Catherine, if you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Brainstorm. It's a Microsoft partner. So just recently changed jobs. I know it says MFour Mobile Research. I was there for 2.5 years, but just started my 3rd week there at Brainstorm. Ben and I were actually the same class. Fun story. So it's been a minute since we graduated, and good to see you. And if I could travel anywhere, I'd probably go to Bali.
Nice. And that's exciting. 3 weeks on the job, probably learning lots. And Daniela.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me too. My name is Daniela Perez, and I graduated from the MSMA last year, and I am currently a brand campaign analyst at Hertz. I moved here to Estero, Florida for the job. I started in October last year, and let's see if I could travel anywhere. Well, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to visit Paris, so definitely there.
All good places, and I'm sure we all want to go somewhere these days, right? So that gives you a little bit about our panelists. So I'm going to go into some questions so we can learn a little bit more about who they are and what they do. So I know that you all talked a little bit about your position as well as your company name, but if you could tell us a little bit more about what does your role entail and what does a typical day look like for you in a position. So Catherine, let's go with you first, since you're the newest, and I'm sure you're still trying to figure out what that looks like exactly. But what does it look like for you?
So I manage a team of 15, and we do B2B marketing in a SaaS environment. And so it's really specific. So, the fun thing is I didn't learn a darn thing about what I do in school, but I learned a lot about how to coordinate with other people. So, B2B marketing is it's a totally different beast. You learn it really kind of by making mistakes and hopefully making some good decisions too. So a day in the life is meeting with the executive team, understanding what our strategy is, looking at product marketing and how we're going to launch new products. So we support Microsoft. We actually help to train companies on how to use Microsoft products. And so it's both coordinating with the channel, the people, the resellers and value-added resellers that sell Microsoft, as well as directly selling to people as well. So, that's doing email, organic, paid, search, every gamut of marketing, but all for a B2B SaaS product where you're really trying to get people hooked on the prospect of getting additional value every single year from what you do. And so you're constantly having to try and prove why your product is helpful. So for us, really trying to show why they can get more value and a stronger return on investment with Microsoft.
Very nice. And everyone else, just whoever wants to go next.
Okay, I can go. Oh, I see Ben as well. I see.
I will cede to you, Brenda. Go ahead.
So kind of actually similar to Catherine, I'm actually in my 3rd week of my new role too, here at Match. So I guess I'll give a little bit more background on my previous role. I worked at a digital marketing agency called W Promote. It's in the South Bay area, like El Segundo, near the airport. And so in that role, I did paid social, paid search. And I guess let me give a background on what paid social and paid search are. It's the ads that are on like Facebook, Instagram, Google, like all the search engines, stuff like that. And then I also worked with SEO and organic social for just clients across different verticals, from skincare, beauty, fashion, the whole works. In my current role, I moved in-house instead of being in the agency world, and I still do like the same kind of stuff, but now just for the brand itself. And so I work specifically with the Latino dating app called Chispa. So that is where I'm at now.
And so my role, I oversee our paid media department. So just what Brenda and Catherine were both talking about, I'm very specific in that world of paid media. So we're a marketing services agency. So a lot of my work is bringing in new clients, working with clients, educating clients, onboarding clients, working with the team that works under me on our strategy, operational structure, workflow, coordinating with different departments, a lot of building pitches, things like that for new business, like I mentioned, creating strategy with the executive team, also thought leadership. So, kind of helping evangelize the company. So creating, articles and information that we can use to not only share with clients, but to like put out in the world to advertise our own company. And then just really, we're a small agency. My team is about 5. So it's a lot of hiring because we're bringing in a lot of new business and a lot of like building the airplane as we fly. So constantly like a client wants a certain type of service. We don't do that. Should we do that? Should we try, kind of trying to decipher in real time, the direction of things as we go. So very fast paced, very fun, and really just a little bit of everything. But I kind of run my own little mini business within our agency, which is really fun. So yeah.
All right. So just like Ben said, marketing can be very, very fast paced. And I get to experience that on a daily basis because it can be anything on one day. You can be doing one thing, then the next day, well, you never know what the future holds, basically. But I oversee campaigns, and that is like the big sign on the wall, campaigns, but you have to see everything that behind the scenes holds. So for example, holding meetings with the entire team of ideas that can come up, what we want to do for a specific brand, what we want to do for dollar, for example, for thrifty brands, for the smaller brands that Hertz holds, and thinking about how it can target the correct audience, how we can reach that perfect person, how both can be different, how they can overlap, but how, the magic of marketing, basically. But also that's where a little bit of project management comes to place too, because you want to keep that momentum going after the meetings, and after all ideas have flourished, you want to say, okay, this is where we are. We're moving forward with this. We're not moving forward with this. Then when we start building up the campaign and putting the pieces together, you want to see what the whole customer experience, what they're going to be looking at. So including creative assets, copy for the specific campaign, any promotions that we want to hold with a campaign, any landing pages. So all pinpoints, customer experience, digital experience, all of that brings it together, and then analyzing the results. And it's the whole journey. It's very nice.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thanks for explaining more what your day looks like, so everyone kind of gets a good idea. And can you tell me a little bit more about the skill sets and experiences that are essential for students to know if they want to go into marketing or your line of work? And do you feel like you've learned those skills in the classroom, or is that something you had to teach yourself outside of the classroom, or did you learn it on the job? So what are those skill sets that you feel like are really crucial for students to know? And Brenda, if you want to go first, and then anyone else can chime in there.
Yeah, I would definitely highlight both soft skills and technical skills. So within the classroom, a lot of group work is done in the master's program. So being able to do like time management, delegation, project management as well, like those are definitely honed in the classroom. And so I bring that into like my daily work as well. But then the technical skills, whether it's doing certifications in like Google Ads or whatever is like your specific field of interest. And then I also would highlight just writing and communication. I feel like those are huge, huge, huge in the marketing world. Whether you are writing pitches, proposals, or ad copy, just being able to succinctly put across your point and realize and make sure that customers get what you're saying, basically.
Definitely agree with that. I think the soft skills are the foundation of a good marketer. And then it really depends on what area of marketing you want to go. So for example, I was always passionate about the data analytics and marketing analytics. So from there, you can use those soft skills and that group participation that we had in the master's program, and work with others, work with your team. When you have that idea or you have something that you think it would be good for your job or your position or for the brand itself, your employer, whoever that may be, you have to present it in a well manner. Not only saying, hey, here's an idea, but letting the idea speak for itself, attaching everything, connecting all of the dots to make sure that the idea can be well heard of and well received. And yeah, like if you want digital, then I would strongly recommend going out, like thinking outside the box too. Like not only like completing the homework maybe, but always going that extra mile and furthering your learnings, taking extra courses, taking extra work that you can do just to leverage all of that and bring something else and stand out from everyone.
I would just add to that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would add to that, the higher you move in your career, the more you're going to have to work cross departmentally. And I think for me, that was the thing that the MBA brought that nowhere else I would learn. So you have to learn the marketing functions within your skill set for the job that you want, right? You're not going to learn that in school because it's too broad. What you're trying to learn in school is how can I cross-functionally work with other people? How can I learn to work with people who are different than me? How can I learn to speak to people who have a finance background, who have an IT background, who have a varying degree of backgrounds? And that's really where I feel like the MBA was super helpful. So now that I sit on the executive team, like I have to do forecasts. Math is my least favorite subject and I still hate it. But I can work with the finance team because I know what they're looking for and I had that background and that ability in my MBA program. Or I have to try and troubleshoot IT stuff. Well, I'd prefer to try and figure it out on my own first and then go to someone after I've tried to, do it myself first, and I can have a better conversation with them afterwards. And again, being able to have that kind of coordination between everybody is really what I feel like you walk away with as a huge skill set from an MBA program. And it's just more important the higher up you go in the organization, because that becomes your everyday. You're not just working in your own marketing department for the first, 5, maybe 10 years of your career, you will be. But as soon as you hit management level, especially executive management level, you're working a lot outside of your department. You need to be able to work with those other differing personalities.
Yeah, I would say marketing is really interesting because of all the different areas of business. It really is the perfect like blend of art and science. Like it really lends itself to, just the ability to problem solve and make decisions. You're dealing with a big creative element and you're dealing with a ton of data, and it's trying to find like where those things come together and what are you going to do based on what you know. So whether it's pulling market research or seeing campaign results or focus groups reacting to certain creative or what people on social media are saying about a certain ad, like you have to take all of that and sort of solve problems off of it. So it is, I think, unique in that aspect. And it just kind of requires that, problem solving approach, kind of trying to think things through without having a real framework or blueprint with kind of everything that comes your way.
Yeah, I think that you all make a really good point of marketing combines both the soft skills and the hard skills, and you need to live in both of those worlds. So it's important that you're building that up during your graduate degree as well as outside as well. So what advice would you have for someone to stand out during the application process, such as the resume, cover letter, interviewing? And Ben, I'll start with you because I know you mentioned you're hiring people, so I'm sure this is your world right now. But how does someone stand out as, there's a lot of jobs out there, but a lot of people are also applying.
I just think like, when I interview people all the time for roles. It's just like, come in with an enthusiasm about the position you're interviewing for, like do your homework, like basic homework, Google the company, look at the website, look up some people that work there, kind of try to get a feel for some roles and, who you might be interacting with in the role you're interviewing for. But, I think most interviews turn into like, tell me about your experience. What are you looking for? It just becomes a little boilerplate. But if you really like have a lot of enthusiasm, ask a lot of questions and like react, like really turn into a conversation, like react to things I'm saying, it's going to go so much better and you will stand out. I know interviews are hard and nervous or nerve wracking, but it is amazing how much someone stands out that just is like genuinely enthusiastic about talking about the role. Most people do not exhibit that. And it's probably because it's not a natural feeling when you're on a call, but that would be my number one piece of advice.
That's a great advice, Ben, because as you said, it's scary. Being in an interview, it's so scary. And I should know because I applied to 1,000 jobs. I went over, I think Andre knows, even since Cal State Fullerton, I applied and applied and applied and went from interview to interview. And the basic homework is so important, and also working a little magic with your resume too. So looking at the requirements of the job and making sure that your resume is telling that story, that this person has the right requirements to fulfill that position, to be a strong candidate for that position. Investigating the company, investigating what they're up to, anything on the news. That's like the beforehand, before the actual interview, like working on your resume, doing your homework, all of that. And then once you're in the interview, yes, being super enthusiastic, asking questions, bringing up things that you admire of the company, things that just spark curiosity that they've done in the past or that they have maybe in the plans according to the news, anything like that, just to show how much you really want the job, how passionate you are, just to bring all of those pieces together.
I'd add to that, talk about your ability to move numbers. Marketing is an art and science. I love that Ben said that. I say that all the time. And, you know, a lot of times we get really passionate about the art, and that's the really exciting and fun stuff for a lot of us, at least it is for me. And I was interviewing obviously recently, and I got turned down for a job, and the recruiter called me back. And I asked him, I said, what was it that just didn't resonate? And he goes, well, you just didn't talk about metrics. You talked about your love for content writing. And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, clearly I've got metrics background. Like, what is it that, you know, so I just made a point for the next two interviews to just go straight into metrics. It's not what I like talking about. It's super boring. It's not the fun stuff. But when you can say things like, I've quadrupled marketing attribution in the first year I was there, and my ROI is a 16-to-1 ratio, which means for every $1 I spend, I get $16 in return, 11 of which is profit. CEOs' brains go bing, 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 bing. And that's what you want to be doing, right? So it might be boring, but lead with the numbers, talk about what you did, how much you moved the revenue, how much you moved the needle, and how easy you made it for the sales team to do their job, because ultimately that's what CEOs want. They want you to, you know, bring revenue attribution to marketing, and they want you to make it easier for the sales people to sell.
To follow up on what Catherine just said, like one of the biggest things I was about to mention was to definitely quantify your results and explain what you did to get there. So beyond just like the interview itself, putting it in your resume and saying like those different metrics as well. Obviously don't just throw them in sporadically, and don't like falsify, because you never know if they'll be able to go and like ask your manager or like a coworker for reference or whatever the case is. But that is very, very huge in the marketing world. And then something I want to also mention is I know a lot of like the people who are in my AMBA program, they didn't have like a lot of experience, like professional experience. And so for those who are in that kind of situation, definitely highlighting like your academic projects or anything you've done outside of work and school as well that would show you have certain skills would be a great way to just, I guess, improve your resume basically. So another thing I'd also mention is to reach out to relevant employees at the company you're looking for, or at least like research into them in order to see like what is their day-to-day. Is that something you're actually interested in? Or is it going to be different from what you're expecting? So yeah, those will be the three things I'd say.
Nice, nice. And all great advice. And also just a plug, you can reach out to Graduate Business Career Services and we can help you as you're going through the process of applying. So how do you see the marketing industry changing? How do you see it developing? And how does big data play a role in this if it does or doesn't? So talking data, Daniela, I'm going to go to you first, kind of being from the marketing analytics program.
Thank you. So the thing with marketing is it's been changing for years and years and years, and I don't see that stopping. And the thing is, it's so complicated and so beautiful to me how you can find so many answers, but also so many questions from the data. So as a marketer, sometimes it can be difficult to remove that bias of what you think you know and what you think the results will be when you're conducting, for example, an A/B test. It's hard to remove yourself and that bias of saying, no, my audience is going to prefer this, or we'll have a conversion rate higher for this version than this one because da 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 da. And you know, at the end, the results are in, the data won't lie, and you have to analyze that data. And from there, okay, extract everything, start building everything. And I think analyzing things, it's not just about, okay, I want to run a test just because you also have to put logic into it. So it's not only about finding the solutions, but also asking the right questions. And that's where you have to put in logic, you have to put creative thinking, you have to put your analytical skills to play, because you want to be asking the right questions that will bring quantifiable results to your company. Things that will actually make a difference on the bottom line or make a difference on your relationship with the customer. So the data that you grab, making sure you do it right, that you're obtaining all that data without that bias, in a proper manner, with the correct research, with the correct testing, the correct metrics, all of that, to make sure that at the end it tells a story. Whether you like it or not, that's a different question. But the story that you get and how to, okay, now that I have that story, now that I got the results in, that's where you start to play with it. That's how you say, okay, how can I build my branding and my campaigns around that story, because I know it's what the customer wants. So that's where it really comes down into play. And yeah, I don't think it's ever changing, because you have to really mix what you know with what you don't know, and being open to the possibility that the results might tell you otherwise than what you think you know.
I wanted to also mention like a kind of flip side, or like not like a tangent of the big data conversation. But in the paid media world, we saw an extremely large change last year because of privacy. So I feel like that's something we're going to be seeing even further into the future. How do we get, personal data from our customers without like compromising their privacy and security? And just figuring out more creative ways to keep like making those targeted ads, or whatever is the case for the marketing arm. But I guess to kind of go a little bit more into that as well. I know that, like Facebook, Instagram, like all those different social media platforms, you probably saw like the, please, it says like they'll ask to track your information. You can say like, don't do it, or like do it. And that's like a huge change that happened in the marketing world. And I feel like moving forward, we're going to have that I guess it's going to be more permanent, basically. And so being able to kind of circumvent that in a safe and engaging way is the biggest challenge. Yeah.
I just add to what Brenda is saying. So I just dealt with this for the last 2.5 years at MFour Mobile Research. It's a market research firm, right? And so we had a first party panel. And the thing that worked so well for us is all of these changes that are happening as a result of GDPR, and specifically what Brenda's talking about is this first party privacy or zero party data, which is basically saying like, hey, you have control over your data now. So what she's talking about is being able to say that to an app, you'll get a note from any app that you have now to allow access to your data at any time you're in the app, at all times, or not at all, and to deny it. And so that basically any app on your phone is able to see all the other apps that you have. And this new Privacy Act, it's being put in place by Apple, but it's going to be done by Google by Samsung and Google as well. And so it's just going to be changing the way that digital marketing works. And so there's going to be ways of doing customer research where we can go in with first party panels and zero party data to go and grab that information. But in terms of doing, your Google ads and your retargeting, all that's going to be shifting. And I know it's worrisome. I know it makes us all nervous about what that looks like. But the idea behind it is a better customer experience. And Google's got some good ideas for how they're going to be coming back out with things, but that's been a huge change. So I've been in marketing for 17 years now. When I started, it was all digital and traditional media, and now it's 100% digital almost. And actually, it's kind of cool, you guys, because stuff has really come full circle. So like if I send out a direct mail ad these days, like it actually gets seen because nobody else is doing it. So it's kind of fun because you have that opportunity. But there's been some really big things. It's really cool that you're like so on top of it, Brenda, like having been recently a graduate, to know what that is and what's going on. That's very cool.
So that it's 6:30. So that kind of is kind of the panel portion of the event where we wanted you to kind of get to know the panelists a little bit more, kind of a broad range. But now we're going to go more into our individual networking where you all can join individual rooms with the panelists. So let me get that set up really quickly. Just gonna stop